Hey, with us just ahead, we've got more on tonight's big stories in sport. The NRL star banned for testing positive to steroids. Now for some sport now with Matt Burke, and you've got some breaking news in the NRL.
Yeah, that's right, Hugh. Good evening. It's only January and there's already drama with Knights playmaker Jarrod Mullen provisionally suspended by the NRL for testing positive to an anabolic steroid. Mullen, who's played over 200 games for Newcastle, was tested by ASADA in November last year and he's facing up for a ban of up to 4 years. Under the anti-doping policy, the 29-year-old can now choose to accept the result or have his B sample tested. It's a huge blow for the Knights, who've been wooden spooners for the past 2 seasons.
And a rugby league bombshell. Former Origin star Jarrod Mullen suspended for using steroids.
This is 9 News with Deborah Knight.
Good evening. A fresh drug scandal is breaking in the NRL tonight, with former New South Wales Origin player Jarrod Mullen suspended for a positive drug test. Julie Snook joins us now from NRL headquarters. Julie, what are the details on this?
Good evening to you, Deb. Well, what we do know at this stage is the Night Star has tested positive to an anabolic steroid after he was randomly tested on November 29 of last year. Now, he has been provisionally suspended, awaiting testing of his B sample, and does face a 4-year ban. Now, we did hear from Knights CEO Matt Gidley this afternoon expressing his disappointment at the findings.
I can't believe it. You know, it's hugely disappointing for a player that I've known for 20 years. You know, he's an experienced player, so it's disappointing for everyone involved.
Drostanolone is a steroid which can be used for explosive strength conditioning and has major recovery benefits. But the Knights have conceded that if this positive test is confirmed, it all but ends the career of Jarrod Mullen. Deb?
Julie Snook with the very latest. Thank you.
Breaking news on a drug scandal set to end the career of Knight star Jarrod Mullen. Breaking news in rugby league now, and the career of a star who's played over 200 games appears over tonight. Knights back Jarrod Mullen has tested positive to an anabolic steroid. The punishment is a 4-year ban. At 30 years old, he's unlikely to ever return to the field.
He was once destined to be the next king of the castle, but now the walls have come crashing down on Knight star Jarrod Mullen. Banished today and facing a 4-year ban after testing positive to anabolic steroids.
I can't believe it. You know, it's hugely disappointing for a player that I've known for 20 years.
Mullen returned the positive sample at training on November 29. He tore a troublesome hamstring that week. The same injury has wreaked havoc on his career for the past 2 seasons, but this news looks certain to end it permanently.
He's devastated, so, you know, it's important we consider Jarrod's well-being. You know, through this process, this is going to be incredibly difficult for him.
Mullen was also one of 30 players interviewed by ASADA during the peptide scandal in 2013. But unlike Sharks players, he didn't face charges. A very different story 4 years later. The drug Mullen is alleged to have taken, drostanolone, is commonly used by professional bodybuilders seeking to shed stubborn fat, and has also been used as a treatment for breast cancer.
They're fully aware of the consequences. If they go outside of the club and do things that we're not aware of, then there's not much we can do.
Sadly, this is nothing new for Newcastle. In the late 90s, 3 players tested positive to performance-enhancing drugs. The following decade, Andrew Johns came clean on cocaine abuse. Another dark day for the Knights. Josh Massoud, 7 News.
Mel, hello again. This Jarrod Mullen drugs ban has stunned, quite certainly, rugby league.
Yeah, it was very unexpected. It's a huge story, Michael. We'll cross live to Josh Massoud for the latest details next. Rugby league now, a Knights star Jarrod Mullen is facing a 4-year ban from the game for testing positive to steroids. For more on this breaking story, we're live now to league reporter Josh Massoud at NRL headquarters. Josh, what can you tell us?
Mel, on the surface, this appears to be another dark day for the Knights, but there is a silver lining. I can tell you that for the past 12 months, they've been shopping Jarrod Mullen around. They've been trying to offload him, and late last year, he came very close to joining Le Catalans as a replacement for Todd. That fell through, leaving the Knights lumped with a player on $800,000 a year and some very serious hamstring problems. But if this 4-year ban is upheld, that will free $1.6 million in Newcastle's cap, because Mullen is on their cap for the next 2 seasons, and that'll allow them to chase a host of superstars who are off contract at the end of this year. Mel.
Josh, thanks very much. Josh Masood there at NRL headquarters.
Meanwhile, Jarrod Mullen's playing future is more uncertain after testing positive for an anabolic steroid. As he waits for the results of a second drug test, the question remains, why did he do it?
Still a poster boy for the Newcastle Knights, Jarrod Mullen was nowhere to be seen at home today, in hiding after being stood down for testing positive to steroids.
For most blokes, I would say don't do it.
Coach Nathan Brown was out to face the heat, but didn't say much.
Obviously, you'll have to do it at some point. You're going to have to do it, so get it out of the way.
The club faces the prospect of losing its highest paid player to a 4-year ban. The 29-year-old certainly boasted an impressive physique, his life seemingly perfect after a recent engagement to girlfriend Evelina Terrazzini.
A shattered Mullen has told close friends that he acted on the advice of a medical professional, desperate to get his injury-plagued body right for the season ahead. But the Knights are adamant that whoever told Mullen to take this drug has no affiliation whatsoever with their club.
There's a lot of people who really believe that taking steroids will help them recover from injury much better. Not much evidence for that, but it certainly will make your muscles grow bigger.
But there have been concerns local steroid dealers are too close to the club.
Black market, a few conversations at the gym, it's not that hard. Drugs like this, unfortunately, are just a conversation away.
Last November, personal trainer Matthew Pearce was convicted of illegal steroid importation. Pearce owned Alpha Lab Supplements, whose products have been used and promoted by Knights players. Josh Masood, 7 News.
A rising NRL star is among 10 people in hospital after a horrible pile-up on the M1 overnight. 7 cars crashed in wet weather at Cowan, north of Sydney, blocking the motorway for hours. Here's Melinda Nusafora.
A terrifying tangle of metal stretching at least 30 metres. 3 cars crashed last night on the Pacific motorway, but as more vehicles came around a bend on the wet road, Vivienne Lewy says there was no way she could avoid a pile-up.
It happens so fast, you don't really have time to think about it. You're just trying to save yourself and not get caught up in the debris all over the place.
All up, 7 cars were involved in the accident. 8 adults and 2 children were rushed to hospital. A 66-year-old man is in a critical condition.
And I mean, it was devastating. My friend wasn't doing too well.
Police are still investigating how it happened.
So they'll look at the road conditions as well as the drivers involved and any evidence they can find at the scene, but it was raining at the time of the collision.
Another driver caught in the pile-up is 22-year-old rising NRL star Pauli. The Newcastle Knights' second rower is in Gosford Hospital with a dislocated hip.
Football clubs like families, and Pauli's got... All the guys are obviously caring for Pauli. I'm sure he'll get plenty of visitors.
It's been a tough week for the Knights. Just days ago, it was revealed their star 5'8" Jarrod Mullen has tested positive to anabolic steroids. The Knights medical team spent the morning with Pauli, but say it's too early to know how long he'll need to recover. Melinda Nusafora, 10 Eyewitness News.
The NRL star seriously injured in a 7-car pile-up on the M1. Newcastle Knights player Pauli has been injured in a 7-car pile-up on the M1. The crash happened at Cowan, north of Sydney, with 10 people taken to hospital, including the young forward.
A mess of mangled cars on the M1. 3 vehicles collided at Cowan late last night, spinning across the northbound lanes and collecting 4 others, closing the motorway for 3 hours.
Nothing but lights, sirens.
One of the victims was Knights forward Pauli, who was behind the wheel of a Subaru Liberty. He has a dislocated hip. His passengers also badly hurt, a woman and 15-year-old boy left with broken bones, and an 18-year-old man with spinal injuries.
It is surprising that the injuries aren't as severe as what they are, and there was no fatality.
Others somehow escaped unhurt, the most concern though for a 66-year-old man who was fighting for life when taken to hospital.
The gentleman that was taken to Royal North Shore still in a critical condition, but is still stable at this stage.
Pauli is now in a stable condition and recovering here at Gosford Hospital. His injuries have certainly cast doubt over his start to the NRL season, which is just over a month away.
A dislocated hip's not great for him, so I'm sure he's a little bruised, but I'm sure we'll be fine, and his welfare is obviously important to us.
For the 22-year-old, the focus is now on getting better and back on the field.
Football clubs like families, and Pauli's got... All the guys are obviously caring for Pauli.
Michelle Tavaniti, 9 News.
Knights coach Nathan Brown has called on his players to not shun embattled teammate Jarrod Mullen after his NRL career was thrown into disarray following a positive test for a performance-enhancing drug.
Jarrod will work out who his friends are in 6, 8, 10 weeks' time when things do get a little bit more lonely. But in these times now when it first of all happens, there's all sorts of people that do appear and they also disappear too.
Mullen is facing a 4-year ban from rugby league.
Also, motorway mayhem. A night star among 10 people hurt as 7 vehicles collide. Well, away from politics now, and it is a miracle everyone survived the high-speed crash we're about to show you. One after another, 7 cars ploughed into each other on the M1 last night. 10 people were injured, including Knights star Pauli, who was driving home to Newcastle.
A makeshift triage centre sprawled across the M1. 3 lanes looking more like a car wreckers than a motorway. 3 cars collided just before 10 p.m, south of the Hawkesbury River Bridge. The next 4 cars collided too, making it a 7-car pile-up.
I couldn't avoid it. There was no way to keep out of it.
Emergency crews worked to free 4 people who were trapped.
It was hard to believe that this had all happened.
Vivienne Lewy was in the middle of the crush.
It's a miracle that I wasn't hurt.
10 others weren't as lucky. Among those injured, Newcastle Knights player Pauli. He was behind the wheel of this Subaru Liberty with 3 passengers, including 2 teenage boys. The 22-year-old remains in Gosford Hospital with a dislocated hip.
Is that going to rule him out for the season?
I can't comment on any of that until we have a meeting with the medical staff.
8 adults and 2 children were rushed to hospitals in Sydney and Gosford. The most seriously injured is a 66-year-old man. He suffered head and chest injuries. Today he underwent surgery here at the Royal North Shore Hospital.
It's surprising that the injuries aren't as severe as what they are, and there was no fatalities.
Crash investigators are still piecing together how this happened and if charges will be laid. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
Well, it's been a horror week for the Newcastle Knights, but there could be a brighter day ahead. 7 News can reveal the Wooden Spooners are making a huge play for Cowboys co-captain Matt Scott. North Queensland has only offered Scott a 2-year deal, and the Knights believe they can get more football out of him. Newcastle are desperate for the veteran prop to guide their young pack, which has been further decimated after, of course, Pauli dislocated his hip in last night's horror car accident on the M1.
Career over Night star Jarrod Mullen fails a second drug test, and exclusive details on questions for other players. We have exclusive details now on a league scandal. Newcastle Knight Jarrod Mullen's playing career is effectively over after returning a second positive test to a banned steroid. Josh Massoud joins us now. Josh, other players and support staff are still being questioned.
Yes, Mark, plenty happening here in Newcastle in the wake of Jarrod Mullen's first positive test to steroids. The first thing I can tell you is that his B sample has also returned to positive a couple of weeks ago, so that will spell the end of his career. He's now facing a 4-year ban. The second important thing I've got to tell you is that ASADA have started a secondary phase of investigation into the Knights. They want to look specifically at the person who gave Mullen these prohibited substances. I understand it's a medical practitioner. ASADA want to check whether any other players have had dealings with that person. Now, this secondary phase of investigation began on the day Mullen was outed in mid-January. 8 Knights players were actually blood tested on that day since. Several have been interviewed by ASADA. Laptops and phones have also been seized for forensic investigation. And today, ASADA gave 7 News a statement which confirmed that it would fully explore the role of people surrounding the athlete and any other issues pertaining to the use of the substance by the athlete. In doing so, we pursue and follow any leads as part of that process. Now, I've spoken to Knights officials today about this. At this point in time, they are very comfortable and confident that no other individual in the club apart from Mullen will face any sanctions or is under any specific investigation. I understand that this could wrap up as soon as next week. So watch this space, Mark.
Will do. Josh Massoud in Newcastle. Thank you.
OK, the Newcastle Knights strongly deny any other player at the club besides Jarrod Mullen is being investigated for performance-enhancing drugs. It's been a horror off-season for the Knights, but some welcome visitors at training today helped to lift their spirits.
Under the watchful eye of some of the best players in the game, Newcastle were put through a gruelling training run today.
I don't know, but they actually did have a good session, so we might have to get the All-Stars back next week again.
But the Knights are also under the close eye of ASADA after Jarrod Mullen tested positive to steroids. But CEO Matt Gidley assures the investigation is just standard procedure.
There's obviously an investigation underway. We've said to Asada we're happy to cooperate and comply. Anything you need from our point of view, we'll continue to do that.
Gidley says he's still waiting to hear back from Asada over whether Mullen's second sample tested positive.
I've had no formal update from anyone in regard to Jarrod.
But the club has guaranteed the 29-year-old is the only player being looked at.
At this stage, there's no one else under investigation. Asada are looking a little bit closer at this thing, as they would do with any other club when they have this sort of positive result, and we'll continue to comply.
Despite the Knights' struggles, over 20,000 Novocastrians are expected to hear tonight for the All-Stars match. And with the intense heat, the game will be played in 4 20-minute quarters and with unlimited interchange to ensure the players aren't at risk of heat exhaustion.
It's going to be a stinking night, so anything we can do to try and limit their fatigue is going to help us a lot.
Danica Mason, 9 News.
Now to our exclusive story from last night and the drug scandal involving Knight star Jarrod Mullen. Although Mullen's B sample has also tested positive to steroids, Newcastle must keep paying him $70,000 a month until Asada's investigation is complete. The club is desperate for a resolution.
The game's sharpest eyes were watching Newcastle today, a club already under plenty of scrutiny.
I'm in constant conversations with Asada. There's obviously an investigation underway. We've said to Asada we're happy to cooperate and comply.
Jarrod Mullen's positive steroid test has led to other Knights players being blood tested, interviewed, and in some cases, asked to hand over mobile phones and computers.
I think it's pretty clear for players about both illicit drugs and performance-enhancing drugs. There are big penalties at the end of it, so you have to be very careful.
There's concern for it, but they all got on with it and they didn't let it interfere with their training.
Anyone that can give information to help expedite this process, I've made it clear that we need to make that happen.
And until the investigation is complete, the Knights must keep paying Mullen his $800,000 salary. It's already cost them $70,000 since his suspension. Money also counted towards their salary cap.
I mean, there's a whole range of consequences when these types of things hit a footy club. Not many of them, are positive, unfortunately.
It should be remembered that the NRL still owns this club and this team, and that's why Greenberg and his team are taking such a keen interest in the outcome of Asada's investigation.
We always have challenges, and the Knights are part of a sale process at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see what Asada comes forward with.
Josh Masood, 7 News.
Rolls it in, and a chance! It's a try for Buderus!
Buderus, he keeps running. Back to Buderus. Scored, Danny, scored! What a young player he is.
That's the Hoodies. Newcastle have won it. Newcastle are the premiers. Second time in history. Buderus. Up the middle goes Buderus. He's still going.
The winner of the 2004 Dayne medal is Dayne Buderus.
Here's the bloke today with Buderus. Putting it back on the game.
Lifting the trophy, young man from Taree in northern New South Wales.
Throws the ball inside. There it is again, the blow. Dayne Buderus. Dayne Buderus scores his first goal. Buderus now a run. He's got Johns with him. He's still going, Buderus. He's still going, Dayne.
Welcome back to NRL 360, and what a legend he is, Dayne Buderus, and we now get to speak with him because it's Legends Night and he's part of the Legends family.
Evening, man.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah. Did you catch any of that vision yourself? You purposely don't?
I didn't know. I'm not one to look back, but I did hear a few tries, which I didn't get too many, but had a great time playing the game. It's a long time ago, it feels.
Kick off with the Newcastle Knights because you captained the club for a long time. You're a legend up there. You coached the team in 2015, 6 games. How many did you win? What was the win percentage?
2.
Two?
Should have won 3.
Okay.
Should have won 3.
That's
for another day.
What are your expectations of your old club in 2017?
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough, but I think round 10, 11, 12, we're there depth will get tested, and especially in the halves. You know, they're young halves, Brock Lamb and Dylan Fittler at fullback. So once that kicks in, that tough grinding season where you're going to pick up some injuries, it's going to be tough for them to hopefully avoid the wooden spoon. But there's some really good noises coming out of there. They're fitter, faster, stronger. I know every club is, but these guys only had one pre-season last year. Now they've had two, and just the way they understand the contact and actually how they can stay in a game a lot longer, I think it's going to be pretty evident on Sunday, hopefully.
They didn't need distractions, PK, Billy, but they got a couple. Jarrod Mullen tests positive for use of performance-enhancing drugs. Of course, more recently, James McManus suing the club while still working there for concussion-related brain damage. Not what they needed.
Probably not, but obviously it's the second year under the tutelage of Nathan Brown, and you just sense that, as you said, the noises are good there. You can't expect too much, but you'd want to hope, I'd imagine, mate, that halfway through the year they're still being competitive, they're hanging in games. There's no more of these 40, 50 blowouts. They're hanging in there till at least the 70th minute, and I think if they can lay that platform in the first part of this year, come the back end of season 2017, we'll really start to see momentum gaining for the Knights.
That needs to happen. You know, to be honest with you, that needs to happen because they're passionate fan base up there and they've been very supportive. Nathan Brown put them on notice early. You guys wanted a young local talent coming through into the NRL side. Well, you've got it. You've got to get out and make them feel like you're behind them.
Don't forget the ownership is going on in the background as well. So hopefully that'll be settled this year. But that's not affecting the players one bit. But you're asking your fans and obviously your corporate support to come through the gate as well. So they want to see some fight out of these players, and by all reports they're up for the challenge. And why can't they? Why can't they be shocking the NRL? And there's nothing better in our game when people are writing you off, and there is plenty of that.
The underdog story, it's a good one.
How big a blow is Jarrod Mullen?
That's a huge blow. Yeah, it's just the way it's all fallen out, I guess. I think everyone's waiting to hear from Jarrod. I think.
Have you spoken to him?
You know, I've texted. I've left him alone. I know he's getting out in the community now. He's back out, just getting fitter and
getting a coffee and things like
doing that. He's got a business up there, so I guess he just wants it over and done with. There's obviously a procedure to get through, but once that gets done, then he can move on to the next chapter. And if he was going to get 2 years, then he can focus on hopefully coming back.
Why do you think he did it?
Geez, there's plenty of
him probably as well as anybody.
Mallo's never come up to his own expectations, I think. I think he's put always way too much pressure on himself. He probably thought he was letting the club down by always being injured, and his players, he's always...
Well, he was injured a lot, and his hamstrings were a real problem. And you can almost sympathise from the point of view that he wasn't trying to go from 100% to 110%. He was just trying to get healthy again because that hamstring kept going on him.
I agree.
He did it again in the summer.
I empathise with the thought. He wasn't, in my way I look at it, I don't think he was cheating. He just wanted to get his body back to where it should be.
Still is cheating, no doubt.
Yes, it is, I know what you're saying, but he just wanted to go and be himself.
Sad.
He didn't want to play anything above himself. He just wanted to get up, be able to have his body, allow him to be the rugby league player until obviously his career had finished. And this was his one chance to get back. And I'm not excusing it, but to me, I can understand what he was trying to achieve.
Yeah. My worry is how do you get into that headspace to actually listen to that person to say that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just shows you where he's at with things.
It's not like they don't get enough education around it. You know, it's like Tim Simona. You know, that's these dumb decisions players make in the face of all this help that they get given from the moment that they come into the NRL system.
The Newcastle Knights, I think the shortest plan I've heard is a 5 year, and that comes from coaching staff as well. So you don't even have to worry about any time before that because it's just straight in everyone's head. We can't win till at least this time. I love the fact they got Anthony Tupu. He's one of my favourite players of all time. He will give them the ability to possibly score tries, which they couldn't do last year. If you score tries, at least you'll be able to put pressure on the other team. I was up there recently before the All-Stars game, got out there to training. They were all smiling, they look fit, they look healthy. They'll win more than last year, but they won't make the 8.
The Knights only needed to win in Auckland today to match their entire 2016 season, but Warriors centre David Fusitua had a hat-trick by half-time thanks to the Magic Man.
Oh, that's superb! Sean Johnson at his best!
Down 20-8, the Knights lost new fullback Dylan Vivienne with a knee injury. Still, last year's Wooden Spooners charged back and took the lead late in the second half.
This should be a double for Ross, is it? Nathan Ross, it is!
Newcastle couldn't hold on with a late winner to Ryan Hoffman, but the Knights are up for the fight this year. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
As we head to the break, these two men battled it out both on and off the field and loved a sledge. You always knew that something special or mad was about to happen when these two were both on the park. Who could forget Big Del be the mad dog?
Yeah, well, I'm really surprised that Mad Dog's playing. He usually has a couple of weeks out, doesn't he? So I don't even know if he's played 100 games yet. He's been around that long.
It was basically all talk, because they were wingers. Like, let's be serious.
Dukes was one of those guys, he just hated all the wingers he was up against, but particularly Wendell for whatever reason. Because I think at the time Wendell was classed as the best winger in the world, and Dukes was, for some reason, laying claim to that.
You loved playing against Wendell Saylor just due to the fact of how competitive they both were, and they used to go looking for each other's in the matches. So I'm sure if you flick back through the history books, you'll see Wendell taking a hit up and Mad Dog in from the wing trying to sort each other out.
Rolling over the top of Perry.
Yeah, see you follow him in from the wing. MacDougall following all the way. He's given away a tackle. The boys, look at him go.
I really haven't seen Mad Dog in space. I've seen him make half breaks, that's about it.
Here comes Wendell. MacDougall takes the ball off him. There's a foot race on. MacDougall goes in.
For me personally, Wendell Saylor was better by far. But Adam MacDougall, when they went up against each other, Adam tested himself against Wendell and they had some great battles.
So it goes back to Soward, who tries to chip it in behind the for Wendell Saylor. Can you believe that? What a start for this one. Goes straight back to Wendell Saylor. And Wendell is still looking for Mad Dog and saying not one, but two. Now Hodges has got MacDougall on his outside. He'll get one back on Wendell Saylor and extend the lead. And the smile has disappeared from Big Dell's face.
Hopefully Dell listens to Kenny Rogers during the week, the gambler. Got no one to hold him, not celebrated at the table. So obviously celebrated a little bit too early, and we're just great to come away with 2 points.
We had an enormous rivalry against Manly, and probably the epicentre of that rivalry and symbolised that rivalry was Spud versus Chief.
It was the best part of rugby league, is kind of those front row battles, and there wasn't too many better than those two when they were going at it.
And there's a punch-up. Carroll and Harragon. It was predicted. Oh, Harragon has hurt one of the Manly players. He's heading straight back down. Carroll comes back. Oh. As the ball goes between the legs of Jeff Tooby, and he's easy free for the Newcastle side end. Manly rush in.
One of them springs to mind where, you know, they're coming off the back fence and off the kick-off, where they both ended up knocking each other out.
What had happened before that, Chief had tore his little tear in his hip, and he knew he was about to be replaced, so he said to Joey, kick off to Spud, and he tried to take Spud out, but didn't exactly work out.
Yes, hello and welcome to Bundaberg Rum Super Saturday as round 2 continues on the New South Wales Central Coast. Newcastle Knights hosting the Gold Coast Titans, and welcome to the newly named McDonald Jones Stadium, formerly the Hunter Stadium, formerly Marathon Stadium. One thing that hasn't changed, the locals love coming here, as do the players, love playing in front of the home crowd. Both of these teams need to get their accounts started for 2017. I'm Matt Shervington alongside Brett Finch and Corey Parker. Well, let's get started with the Knights, boys, because they went over to Auckland last week against the Warriors, and Finchy, they went okay.
They were really impressive, Shervo. Showed a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and one thing that really impressed me, when they got behind 20-8, I thought, here we go again, the Warriors might run away with it, but they really dug their heels in and showed a lot of promise for a young team, so I'm sure Brownie would be happy with that.
I actually thought they were unlucky not to get the 2 points over there, and as you said, Finchy, I think coming here, first home game of the year, they'll have a lot of confidence up against a side
side that I thought were pretty ordinary in that first half last week, and so it should be a great game here today.
Absolutely beautiful weather. The Titans, they've been a little bit distracted this week. We'll have a preview of them in a moment. Let's get the latest team news right now, though. Here's Matt Russell.
G'day, Shervo. You said it. The fans love coming here, especially on a fine, sunny day like this, albeit a little windy. You know, plenty of similarities between these teams last week. They spotted the opposition, a big start, then launched a comeback and could have pinched the game late, but ultimately tasted defeat in round one. They want a W in round two. Let's have a look at the lineup, starting with the Gold Coast Titans, who do have changes. And the first of them comes in the centres, where Dan Sargentson is out with a knee injury. On a wing, Will Zillman missing because of an injured calf. That means that onto a wing comes Tyrone Roberts-Davis, the 19-year-old, and in the centres, it's Chris McQueen. Carl Lawton also starts, pushing Tyrone Roberts back to the bench. Joe Greenwood comes into the reserve four, as does Eddie Pettybourne. So a few changes for the coach, Neil Henry, this week. As for Nathan Brown, it's been easy this week selection-wise. Unfortunately, Dylan Fittler out with that ACL. He's replaced by Brendan Elliott in the fullback role. Ken Seo and Nathan Ross are the wingers. Ross looking to bring that energy he provided last week against the Warriors. Brock Lamb and Trent Hodkinson, the halves. And up front, Daniel Saifiti, Danny Levi, Josh Starling, Sione Matautia, Jamie Buderus and Mitch Barnett. Barnett re-signing during the week. He was players' player last weekend. We'll hear from Mitch later on in the afternoon. Shervo, back to you.
Thanks so much, Matt Russell. We are celebrating the 30th anniversary of Newcastle Knights up here, and it is Old Boys Day, and well, some of the most games played for the Newcastle Knights are line up here. Matthew Johns, of course, there, but Finchy Chief, Paul Harragon as well. It's a great atmosphere when you come up here on a sunny afternoon.
It is, mate, and for a club that's only been in the competition since '88, it's got amazing history, amazing tradition, and a lot of these guys built the foundations for this great club, was built on working class and being the player that everyone wants to play with. It's an amazing tradition they got up here with the Old Boys Day. I'm just worried about the pubs and clubs once all these blokes come after the game.
What will be happening also is the players inside the sheds on there, they'd be getting wind of this, and there would have been at some stage these old guys get through, shake hands, and that means a fair bit to them. And Nathan Brown's obviously a proud guy, and I can expect a big start from these guys coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Rugby league obviously in the blood of most of these players. They've either continued a career in the media or they remained within the coaching staff. As you can see, Michael Hagan there as well throughout the game at various levels. Clint Newton as well on the Players Association. So it's a phenomenal thing that they have here at Newcastle. What about the legacy left behind? Because it is such a young squad they have at Newcastle at the moment. What sort of an inspiration is this?
Yeah, I think what Nathan Brown's doing in the club right now is perfect. They've got a lot of young guys, a lot of local juniors, and for a long time, any kid in the Hunter wanted to play for Newcastle Knights. Now, I think they lost that a bit over the last sort of decade, but I think it's really come back. Young Mitch Barnett, who re-signed, he just said, we've got a young group of players here that have all come through together, and we want to make this thing work. So, especially for the crowd here, they just love seeing local juniors having a go, and I think they're on the right track, the Knights.
Couldn't agree more. I think when you're building a club, which they're in a phase at the moment, you need guys that want to play for your club for the reasons, not for money, not for dollars. Yes, that helps, but you want to play and you want to be able to give back. And there's certainly some of those guys involved here today.
Yeah, there he is, the 8th immortal, Andrew Johns' favourite son up here, of course. Danny Buderus, who isn't in that lineup, has joined them as well, the most capped Newcastle Knight player. But a great afternoon we're having here at McDonald Jones Stadium. Stick around because kickoff isn't far away between the Knights and the Titans. Stadium to run onto, isn't it, Brett Finch? Because when you ran on for the first time ever, you were up against this man, Andrew Johns. He top scored 34 points alone and absolutely ripped the Raiders apart.
The final scoreline was 56-10, but I think Joey versus us was 32-10. So certainly got a lesson that day off the 8th Immortal. 4 tries, and I think for the first time ever, I didn't actually let him to try that day, so it was all right. But he put on a masterclass, and That's why he's one of the greats.
What was it like, Corey, coming up to the Hunter and playing in front of the local crowd?
Yeah, exactly what you just mentioned, daunting. I remember playing back in the day when Wendell and MacDougall used to go head to head. And certainly with Joey at the reins was very, very hard to beat here at home, and hopefully they can get that back in the near future.
Yeah, well, the Newcastle Knights are back in front of the home crowd and very much enjoying that, I would imagine, because a tight loss to the Warriors last week will keep them motivated, keep them confident, and also keeping them confident is one Mitch Barnett, who's re-signed with the club till 2020. That's a great investment in the future.
Yeah, great investment and great signs for the clubs that these local juniors are buying into what Nathan Brown's doing and buying into the culture that they're trying to create here. He's the type of player Newcastle really built this club on, you know, a team-first player. Really heart and soul, just hard worker, puts his body on the line, and fantastic stuff for the club that he's put pen to paper.
You know the number 13 jersey very well, Corey Parker. He's a skillful player, isn't he?
He is, but he you know, what he does do, as you just mentioned, Finch, he works really hard. There's a couple of real honest workers in this team, you know, Starling and the like, but Jamie Buderus. But this guy here, he's got a massive future ahead of him. And like you just mentioned, the guys you want to play for you are the guys that actually really want to be here, and he's certainly one of those guys. Come out early in the week and mention how and what it means for him to be here at Newcastle.
And it's a positive sign there that this footage you can see here, he put the kick through on the left foot. They weren't daunted over there. When they got behind against the Warriors, it's very easy to go into your shell, and really it's hard to stop that momentum when you're over the ditch. But he really stood up. He was one of them guys that didn't take a backward step and was involved in that great try there.
Someone that's been a go-to, as you saw there. What a try assist that was off the left foot for Nathan Ross. He's been outstanding over the last couple of seasons for the Newcastle Knights. Knows how to fire the try line.
He certainly does. He's one of the new characters, I suppose, of the game, but does know how to find the try line, particularly here in Newcastle.
He's a bit of a cult hero up here. He's a bit left of centre, the old Ross dog, but he rips in and he gets his hands on the ball and he's hard to tackle. And like I said, he's making a real name for himself up here. He's playing well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a speedster. He knows how to get around the opposition defenders very, very well and can find the corner and keep the ball in touch somehow. I don't know how, but Jamie Buderus, he's a new addition to the Newcastle Knights and brings quite a lot of experience, origin experience. He's played in a premiership winning side with Manly. He has been a brilliant pickup for Nathan Brown.
Just what you touched on there, Shervo, experience. It just means so much, and none more than in a team like Newcastle Knights, particularly that don't have enough of it. And you know, his inclusion, just by his presence on the park and what he's done in the game, will have an enormous effect on these young guys.
You're right, Cos. He played a lot of his footy off the bench at Manly, so he really relished coming up here, involved in a young team, getting a starting role, getting a lot more of a leadership role up here. It's a real good opportunity for Jamie Buderus.
Yeah, definitely a very good back rower. We'll see how he goes for the Knights this afternoon against the Titans. Let's catch up with the man of the moment up here in Newcastle, Mitch Barnett.
Mitch, congratulations on the new deal to the end of 2020. It makes you the longest signed current Knight. What effect does that faith have on you?
It gives me a lot of confidence. You know, the club's shown great faith in me by signing me till then. And, you know, I'm extremely excited about the new deal. You know, hopefully I can repay the club by performing consistently week to week, and hopefully the performances show on the team.
Now, you're from Wingham, not too far from here. I trust there are family and friends making the trip down?
Yeah, I got a few family and friends. You know, they always like to get to the home games. You know, very close for all the Wingham people. So, yeah, it's great to see the family get behind me and support me.
Narrow loss in New Zealand. What did the team take out of that in a game where you were player's player?
Yeah, look, we have to take some positives and negatives. You know, the positives is we fought hard and we beat ourselves in the end. And the negatives, you know, we have to control the ball and stick to our game plan. And I believe if we do that this week, we'll come away with the points.
You obviously have a kicking licence. We saw it last week, but is it signed by the coach? Is he okay with that?
Nah, definitely not. You know, I'll just stick to the middle and just tuck the ball on my wing and tackle. I'll have to put that away.
We'll see more of that today. Good luck.
Sweet. Cheers. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you to Mitch Barnett. I'd love to see a couple of little kick-throughs from Mitch Barnett this afternoon.
Bundaberg Rum Super Saturday continues from McDonald Jones Stadium. Later in the evening, we're off to Lotto Land and GIO Stadium in Canberra, but it starts in Newcastle. The Knights hosting Gold Coast. Both teams gave their fans hope last week, but were beaten. They come here wanting to convert that hope into victory. These men have had a long, lean wait. 19 losses in a row. They fancy their chances against the Gold Coast Titans, who at 28-0 down against the Roosters were in for a hiding before they fought back against the Roosters, beaten ultimately 32-18. The Knights went to New Zealand and fell to the Warriors 26-22. That was after spotting them a 12-point lead in the first half. Their last win was round 6 last season against West Tigers here. Tyrone Roberts with the restart. Still time for the injury-hit Titans. Can Newcastle close it out? The thrilling finishes continue. Now CO.
They're all full of running now, the Newcastle night, and rightly so.
We saw it on Thursday night in Sydney, last night in Brisbane, and Super Saturday starts in similar fashion in Newcastle. The chant goes up, and Mitch Barnett goes forward all the way to the 10-metre line. Final play, down the short side, Hodgkinson to Ross, and Ross driving towards the in-goal. It's a great place for Newcastle to finish their sets. The south-eastern corner.
Play the ball.
And the Titans have to come the length of the field. 3 minutes, maybe 2 sets for the visitors.
Kenny, don't go early. Go, one.
Parsi throwing himself.
Well, Coach Nathan Brown will be happy what he's seeing right now.
Great spirit from the Knights. Look at them get forward in defence. Pettybourne. That's 3 tackles down. They've come 11 or 12 metres. Ross thought about passing. Straight into Sione Matautia, Daniel Saifiti. The Fijian, he's been big for the Knights. Now, Ryan James out the back, picked up by CO, who's away. Collared quickly, Tyrone Roberts-Davis. Lining up for the killer blow, Newcastle. Gagai. He throws it through Stone. Hodgkinson, numbers here to the left. Mitch Barnett running at a hole, catch and pass. They do so. Ross back at an angle, and Nathan Ross goes over again. Newcastle should win. And after 336 days, look at the celebrations.
And what better place to do it at home for your first home game for 2017. We spoke about that, come off some confidence over at New Zealand, and they've certainly done that here today. It's great to see the flags flying.
It started here with Gagai able to keep the arms free, and then they did simple maths. The numbers stacked up in their favours. Pete Matautia, having just scored a try, played his role there perfectly, catch and pass for Nathan Ross. 2 tries last week, he's doing it again.
And that man, White Lightning. Is that a self-appointed nickname?
I've got no idea. He has been known as the Ross Wheeler. And look at the coach, Nathan Brown, from St George Illawarra to success in the Super League, now taking a tough job in Newcastle. No one would begrudge him the smile and celebrations and pride he must be feeling right now. Nathan Ross.
And you know, it's great to see these guys, the fans, they have turned up week after week, paid their hard-earned money to come and watch their team play, and they've been rewarded here today. But it's the smiles on the faces you see as the players go back, geeing the fans up, hands in the air, high fives, claps everywhere. Well done, Newcastle.
Hodgkinson adds the extras, and Newcastle had their highest total since the final round of 2014. They are standing and applauding
Nathan Ross, Finchy, at 28 years of age in his third season at Newcastle. He's making the old boys happy. He's making everyone who supports the Knights happy.
Yeah, certainly is, mate. And just the atmosphere down here when that Newcastle chant went on, you would have thought it was 95 with the Johns boys and Chief. It was amazing scenes down here for these young fellas, and a great victory for the club.
Short kick-off from the Titans, whose tough start to the season has continued. A second defeat, injuries galore, including to Jarrod Hayne. They'll play the ball. In fact, they won't even get time to do that. For the first time since round 6 last year, all 336 days, Newcastle are winners again. 34-26, forced to come from behind repeatedly this afternoon. Great fight, great spirit, and a great result.
Well, it's a great result for Newcastle fans, but the fans are the ones that turn up, but it's the players out there that have got the job done today. Matty, I'm not sure that those players will know this victory song.
Well, I'm sure that they'll make plenty of noise. They might not need to know the words. They'll be hooting and hollering, and they richly deserve to do so. 19 straight defeats becomes 1 straight victory, Brett Finch.
Yeah, I'm down here with the man of the moment, White Lightning. Run us through that one, mate.
Oh, mate, I don't know. We had some old boys that played here and really paved the way for what this club used to be back in the day, and it was going to be an emotional return. We put up a good fight last week against the Warriors, and we want to show that there's a new era, and we want to repay everyone who's come out and spent their hard-earned to support us the past couple of years.
Seems such a tight-knit group, and the way you celebrated there and the atmosphere, the crowds chanting Newcastle is like back in the glory days.
Mate, it's insane. We owe this community so much. We owe this town so much. If we can't come out here and give everything we have for them, we all want to be a tight-knit group, and we want to be selfless this year rather than being selfish. So, yeah, we're just going to give it our all.
Well, you're certainly repaying them, mate. Fantastic performance personally. Go and enjoy it with the boys.
Thank you.
One of the great local products in this lineup, and have a look how happy he is. The whole team, they've snapped the losing streak. They're home by 8 points. Good luck to them. It has already been a super Saturday for Nathan Ross and the Knights. For the viewers on Fox League, there is a whole lot still to come. We'll break and then come back to the Clive Churchill studio as we build up to Manly and South Sydney at Lotto Land. Well done, Newcastle. Stay with us, still a whole lot more to come.
Good afternoon to you all. Your Bundaberg Rum Super Saturday continues right here on Fox League, and our experts Greg Alexander and Justin Hodges are with you as your Saturday triple header rolls on. Gents, we've just seen remarkable scenes in Newcastle on Old Boys Day, much to the delight of everyone that has made that club so great over the years. 34-26, the final score against the Titans. This marks the end of a 19 straight losing streak for the Knights. Brandy, what would it be like to be up there at the moment?
It's great sitting here watching it, Vonnie, really. And you've got to feel for Newcastle, not to have won a game since round 6 last year. They have a loyal band of supporters that turn up every home game. At a stage, it didn't look like they were going to get it done. It was an exciting, seesawing game. They lost the lead a couple of times after a fast start, trailed at half-time, but finished with a couple of tries, Nathan Ross scoring the last try to get the win. Very exciting for the club, Justin.
Yeah, look, exactly right. I think, as you saw there, Newcastle really came out and started playing some football. I think that's what really challenged the Titans here today. The Titans through the middle were woeful, I thought. Newcastle outside backs really tested them through the middle. And look, it's good to see Newcastle with a win. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it certainly has.
Just remarkable, and as you said, you never were quite sure who was going to walk away with the 2 points at the end of this game because it was so seesawing and just the power struggle that went on right through this second half.
Yeah, look, we saw some spectacular tries, and I don't think I've seen... There was 11 tries scored in all, and I don't think I've seen a game where just about every try went to the video referee and there was a bit of doubt over a lot of them. We had 3 players on debut score tries. Sam Stone debuting, of course, the son of Rick Stone. And we also had a couple of Titans on debut, Carl Lawton and Tyrone Roberts-Davis score. So, pretty good day for everyone up there. I know Neil Henry won't be happy with the loss. I will say one thing in the Titans' defence, Justin, that they lost Jarrod Hayne, they lost Anthony Don, and they lost their starting hooker, Carl Lawton. So that certainly didn't help.
No, look, it doesn't help when you lose those three players, and obviously the big name there is Jarrod Hayne. You know, losing him early in the game is massive, and obviously everyone wanted him to have a breakout game today. And a big thing for me too is Kevin Proctor. He's used to having Cooper Cronk. I think he's lost at the moment. I think guys, Kane Elgie and Ash Taylor need to work out a bit of form there on that right-hand side, because he's such a vital part to their success, and he's just not getting those plays that he used to get.
Yeah, those combinations, you think they'll take a little time to work out, won't they? And him reading both his halves, both Elgie and Ash Taylor, it'll take some time. He's a good hole runner. Not saying I didn't know what was going to happen to Von, because the Titans hit the lead with only 10 minutes to go. When Conrad Harrell scored his second try, they hit the lead, I think it was 28-22, and it looked like it was all over for Newcastle. But to their credit, they fought back and scored the last couple.
And a great big crowd there as well, and they were richly rewarded for sticking around and supporting the Knights through what has been some skinny times.
Well, they had to wait 336 days, but Newcastle fans are finally cheering as the club snapped its 19-game losing streak in the NRL. The home side winning a seesawing battle against the injury-hit Titans. Michael Caine reports.
It's been a week of high turbulence for the Hayne plane.
The perception is that he doesn't put his team first and can tend to be lazy and selfish.
And it didn't get any better today. An in-goal collision cruelling his afternoon.
It looks like Jarrod's afternoon is over with an ankle injury.
By half-time, the Titan star was in the dressing room and on crutches. Earlier, the Knights looked like a team desperate to end 19 consecutive NRL defeats.
Hitting the hole is Elliott, and Brendan Elliott slams it down.
Another four-pointer moments later helped the home side to a 12-0 lead. Gold Coast hit back with a unique four-pointer.
The pushback for Conrad Harrell. What's happened here? Is it a Harrell miracle?
And it didn't take long before scores were level. A pectoral injury to Titans winger Anthony Don saw the away side another man down, but not stopping them from hitting the front.
For Tyrone Roberts outside. Tyrone Roberts, Davis on debut.
Behind by 4, the host hit back straight after the break.
It's a bounce pass for Nathan Ross. White Lightning signals again.
The best was yet to come down the other end by the visitors after passing through 12 sets of hands.
Out the back, what a try! Joe Greenwood with an early contender for try of the season.
Newcastle wrestled the lead back through Sam Stone, while Nathan Ross put the icing on the cake for their first win since round 6 last year.
Ross back at an angle, and Nathan Ross goes over again.
Michael Caine, 10 Eyewitness News.
Now let's talk some footy from the weekend. Andrew Johns, you were there yesterday afternoon in Newcastle to see the Knights break that 19-game losing streak, 335 days without a win. They did it the hard way. It was a to-and-fro-ing contest against the Titans, but 34-26.
What the pleasing thing was, they showed plenty of fight. A lot of improvement in the side, the way they played and defended. But the best thing was the fight they showed, and they played for each other. And that's everyone wants to see. For the people of the Hunter region of Newcastle want to see their team really tearing in. Really pleasing to see.
It was a special day up there too for Knights.
Yeah, they had 17 of the most capped players present the jerseys to the players, and I was lucky enough to be one of those players in the sheds, and we presented the players with the jerseys, and it was a really great feel, really good energy in the sheds. And
they've always done that really well, haven't they, Joe?
Yeah.
The Newcastle Knights. Historically, if you play the Newcastle Knights on their last home game, which is their yearly Old Boys Day, you guarantee that the Knights are going to get away with the point. So they've always celebrated these really good moments. Well, Joe, what was really impressive about some of these Newcastle players is just the maturity of some of those young players like Brock Lamb since coming into NRL last year.
Yeah, he's had a really big job, Nathan Brown, cleaning out the club and getting players with plenty of character and the players that you want to play alongside. You mentioned some of these young guys, Brock Lamb.
Oh, no more than him.
He loves it.
The Ross dog.
Oh, the Ross dog. He's a personality player. I sat and watched him in warm-up, and he's one of those players who's got plenty of lair about him, but you love playing with those blokes. He's got so much energy, and you can see he loves playing. He loves being on the field. He's an entertainer. they can be getting rolled by 50 and he scores a try and still celebrates the Rostock. But he scored the last try. Great to see him, and everyone in Newcastle loves him.
The big headline coming out of that, Freddie, is the injury to Jarrod Hayne. The ankle scans tomorrow to confirm the damage, but it looks like some time on the sideline for the man that's been causing plenty of headlines for the club of late.
Yeah, well, they looked distracted, the Titans. They got in each other's road. I reckon they had a better team than Newcastle on the field, but yeah, nothing went good from them. You know, when Jarrod went off, he'd had 3 runs. That was in 30 minutes of footy, so they're not in a good place, the Titans, at the moment. And they've also got Anthony Donner's had a shoulder injury. Young Lawton, he's got a shoulder injury. So, yeah, they've got Parramatta next week. This could be a tough one, tough week.
Pretty disappointed coach speaking post-match as well.
Oh, we're not real good. Look, we've got 2 dislocated shoulders and quite a serious ankle injury. So I don't know any prognosis, but you could safely say that none of those 3 will play next week. So it could be a lot longer. So we'll wait and see. Medical teams had a look, but we'll know a bit more in a day or 2.
Yeah, Neil Henry, rightfully so, very disappointed. That's back-to-back losses, Andrew.
Yeah, tough time for the Titans. They'll have to really get together and galvanise. But I just say about the Knights, it was there yesterday, Saturday afternoon, really tough time for the Knights fans to turn out. But you can see that the club's improving and the players are playing for each other. I'd plead to the supporters, get out and support them.
Good man. Well said.
Good evening and welcome to NRL 360 Rugby League from every angle. Ben Eichen with Paul Kent from the Daily Telegraph. Another cracking weekend of football. What left you hanging for more out of round 2?
Well, look, what else? You can't go past the Knights. They
waited
nearly a year. Well, I know, but we'll leave that for another day.
You got a soft spot for the underdogs,
I do have a soft spot for the Knights. Look, it's just a magnificent performance, and they've waited so long, and some of these players have never experienced an NRL win, and they're now in the double figures of games for the NRL, and blokes like Danny Lewy and that who 17, 18 games still hasn't played in the winning side.
Do you know the funny part about this is they asked Nathan Brown and Trent Hodkinson after the game about the team song. Now, the skipper admitted to having to use the sheet for the words. He said, but the young blokes actually went okay because they won a stack in the under-20s.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and look, that's where the club's headed, you know. Newcastle were a club that was built on the 2 T's, tomorrows and toughness. That's what you wanted in your players. Plenty of tomorrows and toughness.
Wow.
And that's where they're getting back to. We had Matty Johns on our radio show yesterday, and he spoke a little bit about that. And Nathan Brown's recognised that. In some ways, he doesn't have a choice because there's not a lot of money to go out into the market. But what they've done already since he's been there under his tenure is they've gone out and they've identified the really good young kids that Newcastle were losing 4 and 5 years ago.
They're keeping them.
And they've got them under long-term contracts, and they are the kids who are going to be there. And as Nathan Brown said in that press conference after the game, this is all about what he's hoping is that back in those days when some of these guys that turned up at the celebration on the weekend with the older players who were marked for being the most capped Knights players, for Andrew Johns and Danny Buderus and Paul Marquette and Paul Harragon and all those sorts of players. He said the club was built on these guys early on, and it was that group that came through that they built their premierships around. He's hoping that this current group of players
trying to do it again
are the ones
Tell me this, who do you reckon enjoyed the win on the weekend more, the players or the old boys? Because I saw some vision of the old boys in the corporate suite.
One thing about the old boys is they always enjoy themselves at Newcastle.
Live from the Clyde Churchill studio, it's Monday night with Matty Johns.
Yeah, g'day everyone and welcome to Monday nights. If you're wondering why so happy, the 336-day dry spell is over. Yeah, beauty. Thank God for that.
Yeah. How did you win Trish over? Flowers, massage?
I'm talking about the Knights. Yeah, no,
sorry.
No, I'm on an 800. Sorry, mate, I'm 800 days. Yeah. What about yourself, Hindy?
Yeah, on the weekend, the Knights celebrated their 17 most capped players. Matthew, you were one of them.
What a great day.
Great day up there at Newcastle. So there was a bit of footage from that. So they had a bit of fun. There's the big chief there, one of the greatest of all time. There's a two-handed wave, Uncle Arthur. There's the immortal. But there was a bit of vision here of you guys having a few beers, having a nice time.
Yeah.
Just enjoying the game. You high-fiving up there, top left-hand corner. Look at Billy Peden. Go to high-five. You realise he's got 2 beers in his hands. So you've gone in for the kiss, and Billy's really impressed, but I don't get it what it is with the Johns brothers and Billy Pt1. I don't understand why you have to. What's the kissing?
What do you mean?
Well, there's vision of. Show us that photo of Joey kissing Billy Pt1. What's?
Oh yeah.
Is he a family? Is he a family friend from way back?
Yeah, mate. We're all from Cessnock. That's what we do. That's what we do. Don't you guys do that? You guys are strange. Now, people, certainly one of the great characters in the game is Nathan Ross. He scored the winner for the Newcastle Knights to break their drought, and I thought, you know what? Let's be a little bit self-indulgent. Let's cross to the Ross dog up there in Newcastle. Nathan Ross, welcome, mate.
Hey guys, how are you?
Mate, well, I tell you what about those celebrations? What a great day out, huh?
No, mate, it was tremendous, eh? The 17th most capped players came and gave our jerseys. You were one of them, and it was a really emotional day for us. And first home game, we're trying to move on past the rebuilding stage of last year, and it really meant a lot to give back to the crowd and the community.
Hey, Ross Dog, it's Fletch, mate. Congratulations yesterday. The song, the team song. Now, it's been a bit of a talk in the media that a few of the boys didn't know the song. Can I put you on the spot now?
Yeah.
Can I put you on the spot? Do you know the start of the song?
I know the start of it.
Can you hit me with it?
We win, we win, we win. The Knights, we are supreme. We are the greatest football team you have ever seen.
You've missed a couple of lines there, Ross. we win,
the backs are a dream.
We are supreme. We got the points again today. We never give in. The forwards on the boil. The backs, they are a dream. We are the greatest football team that you have ever seen.
Football team.
Yeah, don't worry. I reckon by the end of the year you'll know it, because you're going to have a few wins the way you played the other day. I just want to ask you about someone. Geez, I was impressed by Jamie Bureau. We presented the jerseys before the game, and he walked around a lot of the young blokes, and I tell you, he's been a terrific buy for you guys.
Mate, Jamie Buderus has been massive for us, and his leadership's shown on the field, but a lot of stuff goes unnoticed, and that's around at training. His professionalism's huge. It's not just him. Rory cost Jason. You haven't seen him on the paddock yet, but what him and Jamie have brought to the club from the systems that they've been in is showing us how we need to progress to become a good football team.
Ross Dog, it's Heine, mate. You're due for your second bub pretty soon, and you do the old sign for when you score a try for Zane.
No, Zaya.
Zaya, mate. Sorry. What's the new bub going to be called? Do you know yet? Can you give us a hint?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. It's a little girl, so we're I'm at loggerheads with the missus at the moment over what we're going to call us. So hopefully I get my own way, but if I don't, unlucky for her, so I'll just get the Z.
Yeah, it's got to be like something you can do with your hands, like obviously.
What about like Wendy, like a W? Do Wendy
or an O?
O for Olive.
O for Olive.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure yet. I've got 8 weeks to decide.
Righto, Ross Dog. Hey, congratulations on the win. Congratulations on your form and the season you had last year, and mate, good luck for the rest of it. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah. I tell you what, really good bloke. Nathan Ross, and a tremendous character. Let's talk about the win now. 34-26. Really entertaining game of football, this one. And the lead changed hands. Special mention too to Brock Lamb, the young 6 for Newcastle, who was absolutely terrific. As I said before, some of the experienced blokes really stood up.
Yeah, look, they were. The Titans again started slow, but the Knights, they were brilliant, and they didn't give in. And you know when you have one, mate, it was 330-odd days. Sometimes you've got to doubt yourself. Winning's contagious. And so was losing. You know, you just find a way to lose. But they should have won probably the week before against the Warriors. And then Nathan Ross, he plays with so much energy. He plays with so much enthusiasm. He's always around the ball. And it was great to see him get the match-winning try.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Well, I thought the Titans had this one in the bag for the last 5 minutes. I think they just got a bit carried away, and the inexperience in their halves. Tyrone Roberts went for a 40-20 in the last 5 minutes when they were up by 4 points. Missed it. And then all of a sudden, the Knights are at the other end scoring a try.
And I'll tell you what, a young bloke who scored a really important try, Sam Stone, which is his first try at NRL level. Sam Stone is actually ran a beautiful hole there, did Sam. He's the son of former Knights coach Rick Stone. So Rick's over coaching Huddersfield. There's Rick there. He's coaching Huddersfield at the moment. He'd have been watching from afar and very, very proud of his boy. He's a real player of the future. Here's Sam.
We had some wonderfully jubilant scenes up in Newcastle. Finally, their first win after more than 330 days without one. Tarek, you were there for a big part of this losing streak last year. Did you watch that and just feel, you know, happiness for them and relief?
Yeah, it was, and I watched it with, you know, so much pride. You know, the boys that are, you know, they're holding up the fort at the moment are really starting to kick on, and you know, to hear the Newcastle chant go up, it was unbelievable. It was really, yeah, like I said, words can't explain. Just to see the boys sing the song, it was great scenes there, and you know, hopefully they can turn around and do it again this week.
Do you know the song? Because not many of them did there.
No, well, yeah, like I said, I'm at the Dragons now, so I don't really need to know it.
Yeah, very good point. Now, there were a lot of, there were lots of tributes that came out, like, you know, when something happens, people do memes on the internet or they do songs and that kind of thing. Well, none better than this little number from a local radio station in Newcastle. Nick and Sophie, Hit 106.9 Newcastle. Take a look at what they put together.
Since Newcastle won, 330 days have passed. Even my grandparents' droughts were shorter than this. Newcastle won. On Sunday, April 10 last year, so many things have happened, so I made a list. The bogey hole reopened and the Knights have won as many games as Donald Trump has won elections. We've lost Prince, Carrie Fisher, George Michael, Gene Wilder, and half of Hollywood is gone. The European Union fell apart. Brexit. And Gaga tore the Super Bowl apart. Then we got a new $10 note. And X Factor died forever. And Wall's End was so hard it was a joke. And Brad and Ange split forever. And Sunday penalty rates were smoked. And we all watched in awe as Jarrod Hayne played 3 sports, then came back. And we learnt the phrase, cash me out, so how about that? Pineapple Pen was when Insp story started. They read the wrong winner out at the Oscars. And 50 Shades Darker was shite. All this since a win for the Knights. Yeah, all this since a win for the Knights. For the last 11 months the Knights have failed to win, but now we have emerged from the dark. We begin it today, our road to the Premiership Cup.
Nice work. Very clever. From the sports desk, fists fly as the Rabbitohs go head-to-head against the Knights. Souths and the Knights literally fought it out in Newcastle this afternoon. It was Robbie Farah's 250th first grade match, and they'll celebrate a winner with the Rabbitohs coming away 24-18 winners.
Most wrote off South Sydney when Greg Inglis went down for the season, but few of those remembered just how good Alex Johnson is.
He goes all the way, first try.
Souths up 10-0 when Cody Walker put John Sutton through untouched, but the Bunnies were hardly in control. George Burgess lost all composure midway through the first half.
It's on him back play. Defence straight away. Well, this is frustration for the big Englishman. Sam's come flying in too.
He spent 10 minutes off the field for the offence, and minus a man, Souths paid the price.
Who gets away from one defender and races in to score?
Hodkinson scored, Burgess watched, and saw a brother act that is working.
Matautia outside for Pete Matautia. Matautia to Matautia.
Bryson Goodwin's brother Leon died during the week, and he pointed to the heavens after putting the Rabbitohs up 16-12.
Bryson Goodwin, who scores an emotional try.
Soon after, Adam Reynolds threw a pearler, and Braden Burns gave Souths a 10-point lead.
What a pass from the South Sydney half.
The Bunnies finished off Newcastle for their second win of the season. Rob Canning, 9 News.
Newcastle have come within a whisker of the upset of the season, putting in a spirited performance to fall just short against the Sharks. Cronulla skipper Paul Gallen was furious after the 1-point win, blasting his teammates in a post-match rant.
An emotional Saturday afternoon in the Shire, celebrations for Chris Hyington as he joined the exclusive 300 game club. But the match began on a sombre note, players and fans falling silent to honour Shani Kamali, the late wife of Sharks great Brett. The game was a mismatch on paper, so it was no surprise the defending premiers opened the scoring against the Wooden Spooners.
Jarrod comes up with the first try.
But the Knights are on the improve and took it to Cronulla in the early stages.
Delicately towards the end goal and perfectly.
The defence punishing at times, Paul Gallen looking more back alley brawler than footy player. There was plenty of skill on show too, Valentine Holmes starting and finishing a long-range special.
Jack Bird holds the pass, now he pulls the trigger, Valentine Holmes!
Up by 12, you'd expect Cronulla to cruise home, but the Knights had come to play. Brendan Elliott racing away to narrow the gap before Holmes gifted Newcastle an equaliser.
Valentine Holmes with a little juggle!
A late field goal, the only thing saving the Sharks from humiliation.
And hitting the mark, James Maloney!
You know, the problem was we gave him no respect that last 20 minutes and made that us.
Luke Duffy, 9 News.
Time for break. Make sure you stick around after the show for On the Couch with Sterlo.
Tonight, he's the man responsible for rebuilding the Newcastle Knights. The former Dragon and St Helens Super League winning coach Nathan Brown drops in for a chat.
Stick around now for On the Couch with Sterlo.
Thank you, Ben. Tonight on the couch, we'll be joined by the man looking to turn the Newcastle Knights back into a real force, their coach Nathan Brown.
Hodgson supports, chips outside, looking for Nathan Rosso! This time it's good. Lamb, Gagai, flicks it out the back. Over they go through Ken Co. Numbers here to the left. Mitch Barnett running at a hole, catch and pass. Ross back at an angle, and Nathan Ross goes over again. And after 336 days, look at the celebrations.
And surprisingly, this man has more hair on his head than last time I saw him. Things must be going okay up in Newcastle. Nathan Brown, thanks for coming down.
No worries.
Hey, how would you assess the first 7 weeks?
Disappointing on the wins, losses, but a huge improvement on last year. Probably the best way to sum it up. The fact that, you know, we played Cronulla and got beat by a point, and Roosters on the weekend were right in the contest till right at the death, where those sides sort of blew us apart in the first 20 minutes of last year's games.
Well, just let's have a look at the situation statistically after 7 rounds, because I think this is an enormous plus for you. After 7 rounds, the average loss last year, and in 2016 there was a win and a draw in the opening 7 rounds, nearly 28 points, the average loss margin per game. This year, it's down to about 13. Now that, to me there, gentlemen, speaks volumes.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's an excellent stat, and it's, you know, a great lot of hard work, and congratulations to Brownie and the coaching staff and the players that have bought in to what's obviously going on out there. But I just want to know, how challenging has it been? You lose your highest paid player before a ball's been kicked in, Jarrod Mullen, due to his own circumstances. You've got a young fullback you lose in round 1 for the season with a knee. You've got $1 million to spend on a cap that you can't buy anyone with. Must be some challenge there.
Yeah, the worst part of it is, I suppose, is the young blokes are obviously competing so much better now, and we've been in, you know, we've had 4 or 5 games where if we had that little bit more polish or a bit more experience in the key positions, I've got no doubt we would have picked up more wins. So to see the disappointment of the continual loser when we're so close is one of the hard things, and I feel sorry for the younger blokes because a lot of them are in situations. I know if they had, say, played with, you know, your Darius Boyds and Darren Lockies or Mix or you blokes with that real good experience,
make you a better player.
How much better they'd be enjoying first grade, or they're enjoying it, but the disappointment of the winning and losing because of the lack of experience around them, especially in key positions.
I might have played another year for a bit of cash. Brownie, for me, something that's always difficult at a footy club is that losing environment at times, and that's something that obviously the side we're seeing this year is totally different to last year. You mentioned how you guys have Other than that afternoon at Penrith, you've been in every game. Could possibly be on 8 points. How difficult is it to keep that positivity and keep them young blokes believing in where you're going?
I've been a fair bit, starting to get a bit harder. I was very protective of all the young guys last year, and I'm still pretty protective of them as the coach and staff. But now that they've played a bit more and they're seeing some similar pitches and they're getting more to the pace of the game, where we're certainly getting a little bit harder with them, but still mindful that, you know, we often run out with 5 or 6 forwards that have played 4, 5, 10, 15 games max, and they come up on the weekend against Hargraves, Cordner, and these blokes are world-class players. So I'm mindful that there's a fine line. But I think if we can keep hanging in there, and you know, the odd win will come, but it's, you know, it still always was going to be another tough year. But I knew it would be a lot closer.
What will improve things is obviously recruitment and bringing in the kind of players that you need and the club needs at the moment. Can you tell me, did you think that you had Matt Scott, and how close were you in regards to Jack Bird?
Look, we thought we were 50-50 with Jack Bird. We thought, because 5'8" was a favoured position for him, we identified Jack Bird obviously a long time ago with Kalen Ponga as long-term fullback and a running 6 type player. To get Jack out of Cronulla was going to be hard, but once the Bronx come in, a hard club to compete with for anyone. You know, even Cronulla who were premiership winners and looked like they're a chance of doing it again. So we did think we were a genuine chance there. With Matt Scott, it was sort of a bit of circumstantial, I suppose, didn't help. We were hoping to bring his wife down, who was pregnant at the time, and she couldn't fly. And sort of one of our big things is trying to sell the town of Newcastle, make the people realise what a nice place it is and how it's a great rugby league town. Again, on the weekend, I think we had nearly 22,000 on the weekend. You know, and they keep turning up, you know. And so we're trying to sell the town of, it's when you sort of go to Newcastle and you get around town, you see how much they love their rugby league, how much they understand it as well. And also all the ex-players that come from all the different clubs that end up there, they never leave there, or if they leave, they all come back because it is a great place to live. So that one just sort of, for whatever reason, we couldn't get Matt to town, and as it eventuated, his preference was to stay in North Queensland.
Nathan, it must be frustrating when you're going for these marquee players all the time. Firstly, how long do you reckon it's going to take you to rebuild Newcastle to where they are now? And do you think a draft would help? If a draft come back in, it'd help those lowly teams like Newcastle, the Tigers, the teams that are battling?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, roster management is the key to any good club, I think. And if you look at Cronulla winning the comp last year, you know they recruited Mick, become available. They recruited Mick. The halfback become available from the Roosters. And, you know, these were players that were available for any club to buy. And players that, because I know what they earned, because Darren Mooney's at our club now, when you look at the market today, both players were and are very cheap in today's market. So it's about having money available. As of last year, when we sort of took over, we had a club that had a wooden spoon, and we were actually over the salary cap for this year without bringing a player in with what we'd been given. So that's why we had to take the drastic circumstances we did. We're a development club, so our draft is basically the Newcastle North Coast District, the younger kids. That's basically our draft, and that's why we had so many debutants last year. And now the challenge is trying to put the right players with it. We identified Kalen Ponga earlier as we thought was a great long-term player for the club as a fullback, which I think everyone would have seen him the other night. They'd agree. And now the challenge is to try and put those 2 or 3, 4 other very experienced players who are the right players with them, and that is challenging.
What about the head knocks? 18th man, you've been an advocate for that.
Hang on, before we go to head knocks, I want to go back to just what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Did you meet with Kieran Foran on the weekend, and how did it go?
Yeah, we had a chat. Yeah, look, Kieran's, you know, obviously he may stay in New Zealand, he may leave. Obviously he's got some circumstances. So I'd say that I didn't leave there thinking that Newcastle are a club that he'd definitely come to, but I think if things work out, how would I say, right for him family, I would think that, you know, we'd be as good a chance as most others.
Because the family thing looked like it will be, you know, the major consideration for Ken, which probably takes Melbourne out of the equation. You know, you're thinking Sydney club, but you're also thinking Newcastle is
I just think with what Nathan's doing up there, and we see the changes over that last 12 months and what he's done with that team, where they were getting blown off the park with young kids, to that resilience and that competitive nature. That's Kieran Foran. That's what he's about. He was at Manly with Trent Hodkinson, so that relationship would form really quickly. And the Boom rookie coming next year in Ponga, Danny Levy's improved immensely over the last 12 months. I think it could form a formidable
Well,
side.
they're going to get players to come to the club. If you get a foreign all of a sudden, that's going to attract even more players.
Well, the other one's James Graham too. There's talk about him leaving. He would really stiffen up your pack with some quality guys there, especially the two big Footy boys and Barnett.
We're looking at two. We'd like to be able to. We've got the capability, if we can attract them, to get two real quality forwards in, high-profile forwards, to help the younger guys. We got the capability to put some more experience in our halves and outside back. So we've created the room, but we always sort of, as we sort of said to Jack Bird, if we could get one, you can get 3 or 4, but getting one can appear to be the hardest. But I think with the market at the moment, like obviously if Kieran does decide to come back to Sydney and he goes to Club X, there's always fallout, and the way it is today, with the change of coaches and people moving,
last year,
you just don't know who's going to come up. But this time last year we couldn't have got into the market because we didn't have the funds. Where now we can get in the market, so we may have to be patient and sit back and wait a bit.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
no, sweet, mate.
Yeah. You've advocated an 18th man for a long, long time. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It's gone to the committee and seems to be out of play. But one thing that has concerned me, and I don't want to put you in an ivory tower or glass house, is the HIA in relation to interchanges. Now, I saw something on the weekend that looked extremely coincidental at best in relation to a player being interchanged. The HIA happened to a player 2 minutes later after the card had been put back down. That player comes off, this player goes on. It's a free interchange.
So I'll say it, Pete. They're rorting the system.
Well,
I'll say it. I don't care. I remember back to the time when they used to have the blood capsules too in semi-finals and all that sort of stuff. So they're always going to try and rot the system.
Look, unfortunately, there's a system there in place to protect players' welfare, etc. But there's also an avenue that can be...
can be or is be?
Is be.
I'm with you, Pete. It is happening.
It's happening. Yeah. And you're silly if you think it isn't. Yeah. And you just hope that the percentages of who's rorting it or not is not high. Yeah. But for sure that's happening. Absolutely, without a doubt.
How do you see it as a coach? And again, I don't want to put you in a position to cast aspersions elsewhere, but is it a problem in the game?
Oh, look, I think every club, if there's an opportunity that's provided to get an interchange, I think everybody's using it because generally, the game's being policed much harder in this area now, obviously with players having to leave the field.
That's different. If an opportunity presents itself, are clubs making up their own opportunities?
I'll still stand by what I'm saying.
Yeah, I reckon so too, yeah. For sure.
It's not hard for somebody to make up their own opportunity in the game that we play these days. It's full contact, etc.
Well, I'll put this up. If someone
I tackled Corey around the legs last year and he stayed down. And then next thing,
if someone says to me, you've rorted the head knocks or whatever, and someone comes and asks you and say, did you go off because of a head knock? Of course, I'm going to say yes.
Oh yeah, look, it's very different. The last thing we want to do here is again cast aspersions on the medical people and that involved. But I'm just acting on something that I saw on the weekend that I thought, well, boy, that's extremely coincidental.
Where was that game? You saw it at?
I saw that many on the weekend. North Queensland. What time are you getting them? At a good time, a bad time? I suppose any time Jonathan Thurston's not there.
Oh, any time Jonathan Thurston's not playing, I think that helps anyone. I think it helps New South Wales if he's not fit, whatever the team is. But look, we've always got our own issues ourselves at the moment. We've got a large number of blokes who aren't playing ourselves, and with the side of the experience we have, every game's tough for us, and we need to play, to be somewhere near our best to give ourselves a chance in any week. But I think we'll enjoy going up there, and I think we'll make a far better account than we did last time we're up there.
I'm looking forward to this, Pete, because there's going to be there's a little bit of feeling in this game, obviously around the Kalen Ponga situation, and I know that the Knights would have liked to have had him a little bit earlier. Brownie and Paul Green being mates from back in the day, and I just think there might be a little bit of extra added spice going north this week. I think it's going to be a good game up there. They've been hard to beat, Newcastle. I asked you that, Brownie. Kalen Ponga, he's obviously got some opportunity with Lachlan Coote being injured at different stages in the opening 7 rounds. What have you made of his form?
Yeah, look, I thought his second half against the Dragons last week was great for you remember he's 18 years old, you know, to do what he did in the side that was getting well beaten. Yeah. And without Thurston, without Matt Scott, without Tamu, who's now gone, and I thought it was great. And, you know, the more opportunity he gets, obviously the better it helps for when he arrives at our club.
Thanks for coming down. We really appreciate it. We know it's school holidays. You've got a young family that you've got to look after, and a side up there that you've got to get ready for this weekend. Good luck. It looks to us that you're headed in the right direction. Even just the statistic we showed earlier would exemplify that. So, well done. Keep it going, and let's hope the next win is just around the corner.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Nathan Brown, they're doing a great job up in Newcastle. But after the break, I catch up with another of those influential Englishmen who've left their mark on the Australian game in John Gray.
We've also got some breaking news at Newcastle, who have axed captain Trent Hodkinson for the clash against the Cowboys on Saturday afternoon. The former Bulldog has been struggling, and finally coach Nathan Brown has lost patience and he hasn't made the trip to Townsville. Jalen Feeney has been brought into the squad.
The Newcastle Knights currently sit at the bottom of the competition table, which is familiar territory for them, gents. Their only major signing for 2018, as we understand it so far, is Kalyn Ponga, the young man from the North Queensland Cowboys, who's got an extremely bright future in the game. But do you think that if they don't sign more than Ponga, that we're going to get more of the same in 2018?
I think it's a real issue for them because, you know, they've gone after Bird, Madalena, 4, and they're in the hunt for Matt Scott. Then went cold on it. James Graham is the whale that they need to get. You know, he's the big player that they need to try and land. Again, we talk about clubs in a rebuild. Newcastle are in the mother of all rebuilds, and, you know, on and off the field. You know, they just have to stick solid. You know, I can see another year of heartache next year, but, you know, that's the only way they're going to dig their way out of it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned James Graham, because Matty Johns last night on his show just spoke in glowing terms about the Newcastle Knights and the man they should go after.
James Graham would be absolutely perfect. I kid you not, for Newcastle. Would be perfect. And Newcastle, in my opinion, need to make him an offer that he can't refuse. And the Dogs, I think if they offered him a multi-year deal for big money, I reckon the Dogs would let him go, given the service he's had. His impact would be so great in a short period of time and turning that club around. I reckon by the time he had 3 or 4 years there, I think he'd be as big a legend as Paul Harragon. That's how big an impact I reckon James Graham could have in the Knights. He's a winner. And what he'd do, he'd teach all those young blokes how to win, how to get up for football games. I think he could be the most important signing the club would ever make.
Tick, 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 tick.
Agree.
I wholeheartedly agree. You're on the same page?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Matty was pinching some of my stuff there. I said to him, he's a winner. Yeah. No, but we'll talk about...
God, how dare he?
No.
So you,
I don't know if he'd be as big a... Thing. Well, no,
are you giving up Matty's sources there?
Yeah, no, me.
Yeah.
No, we had a chat about it yesterday, and he... You know, Matt knows James obviously quite well, and we get to talk to James a lot in here, and he was asking me a few questions, but the thing about James is he's a winner. He knows how to win. He knows how to get the people around him to win, and that's what he's done at Canterbury.
Better than that, PK. He just doesn't know. It comes easy to him.
Yes.
It's kind of, it's in his DNA.
It's him.
It's
who
innate.
he is.
Yeah. And needs someone with that experience and that leadership. And I don't know if he'd be as dominant as Paul Harragon, but he could be the type of Malcolm Reilly influence.
Yeah.
He was there in the mid-90s, you know. An outsider coming in from, you know, an Englishman, it's got fairy tale written all over it.
Yeah. Look, there's been significant improvement in the Knights from last year to this year. Even though they're still anchored on the bottom, there's been great improvement. And there will be again next year, because all these young players that we're seeing now will be better for the experience, but they still need to bring in some hard edge experience and some veteran experience.
And they need to strengthen up the top end of their list with some marquee players.
That's what Newcastle's always known for. When they've been most successful, it's when that pack is feared by the rest, and that's what he could bring to it.
What about this for an idea? What about, with all this imbroglio we've got over the salary cap at the moment, would it be prudent for the Knights, it's a bit of a gamble, but for them to sit there and say, you know what, let's just not go too hard early in the market, and let's just wait, because there's no way the salary cap is going to be as high as some of these clubs have already spent, and they're going to have to offload players.
But who do you think they'll be offloading?
Well, they won't
marquee players?
Well, it depends how much they're over by and how quickly they want to get back under the cap. And it depends then, they'll have to say to some players, we need to tap you on the shoulder here and you need to go. And the Knights can get them, most importantly, for a reduced rate. they can say, we'll take 300,000.
You didn't write anything
No,
down.
well,
You don't agree?
they won't get James Graham to reduce rate.
No, they won't
he's on
get
$1
there.
million next year. But I like how James Graham on this show said a couple of weeks ago that, you know, if there was a big contract on the table, he'd have to look at it seriously to go elsewhere.
He's a realist. That's the
completely.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's a done deal.
Peter Webster?
You should be taking your 6%.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming
Good
in.
to be here.
Time for a break. The players are in next. Darren Woods and on debut, Moses Mbai.
The career of 30-year-old Newcastle playmaker Jarrod Mullen appears over after the NRL handed down a 4-year suspension under the league's anti-doping policy. The 211-game veteran has been found guilty of using a prohibited substance when steroids were picked up during a random drug test in January. Mullen has 3 weeks to appeal the punishment.
But now Mel is back with sport and Jarrod Mullen learned his fate today.
That's right, Fergo. The NRL Anti-Doping Tribunal handed down its ruling. That's next. In other league news, the NRL's Anti-Doping Tribunal has upheld a 4-year ban against former Knight star Jarrod Mullen. Mullen has been suspended and on full pay from Newcastle since January.
A rugby league tradition comes to an end in Mudgee this weekend with a final clash between City and Country. Mel McLaughlin is here, and Mel, it's a checkmate for the fixture in more ways than one.
It certainly is, Fergo. One of the City slickers, Nathan Ross, actually captained his high school at chess. And as our Chief Rugby League reporter Josh Massoud discovered, this footballer is not so black and white.
No longer a rugby league pawn, this white knight has been making all the right moves of late.
What an acrobat! What an athlete!
He's also a chess expert.
Can I castle when I'm in check?
You've been checked, so no.
I'm not allowed to do that. You know all the rules.
As he should. Ross captained the St Joseph's College chess team for 2 years.
I had a little bit too much energy at school, so my mum got me into it to, I guess, help my concentration.
Not to mention his social life.
I found out that the chess team on a Friday night would actually leave the school and get to go to another school and play them in chess. And so it was a way for me to get out of study, actually.
A park footballer until his mid-20s, the game also helped Ross through the long wait for NRL honours.
It teaches you patience, and you can also sacrifice some things in order to get to where you are. I guess that's with life as well, isn't it?
One of Ross's biggest setbacks came during the 2002 Bali bombings. His aunt Kathy was killed.
It was traumatic. It's something that took a long time for my family to adjust to.
Her husband, former Rooster Craig Salvatore, represented City 4 times, making Ross's selection even more special.
There's a couple of people in my family that have worn the jersey now, so it's an honour to be able to, be put up there with them.
But not so much of an achievement beating this humble hack at chess.
Check, mate.
Thanks for the game. Cheers, good luck on Sunday. Thank you.
Josh Massoud, 7 News.
So the NRL at Newcastle has caused a major boil-over, beating heavyweights Canberra by 34-20 this afternoon, with just one win for the season. The back-to-back wooden spooners were expected to be easy meat for the Raiders, but the form guide went right out the window.
Kick back and found. Here comes Brockland. Brockland scores for the Knights.
The only downside for the Knights, a possible neck injury to prop Jacob Saifiti. It's 3 straight losses for the Raiders.
Another scary moment for the Knights today. Forward Jacob Saifiti stretchered off the ground with a suspected neck injury during their clash with the Raiders. The 21-year-old was taken to hospital for precautionary scans, and that soured an otherwise momentous occasion for the Knights, who grabbed their second win of the season with a 34-20 victory.
Knights handed out flowers to their mums, but it was a tough afternoon for the Saifiti family. Jacob injured his neck in a tackle, left motionless for several minutes. While his twin brother Daniel watched, Jacob was taken to hospital for scans.
They don't get looked after any better.
Newcastle led at the break for the 3rd straight week.
Matautia! Through he goes!
Then from 14-10 down, the 20-year-old skipper led his Knights to victory.
Laura's lost it! Sione Matautia rolled! Did he score? I think he did!
2 wins, already doubling the entire 2016 tally. It's 3 straight losses for the misfiring Green Machine. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
But after the break, I sit down one-on-one with former Newcastle player Mark Hughes, who as a Knight made his way through plenty of tough times on the field, which has put him in good stead for the far bigger off-field battle that he continues to fight.
Inside the Mark Hughes. Oh, he scores his third try of the afternoon. Cut out ball for Kenty. He turns it back to the inside. Count the 1, 2 and 3 for Mark Hughes. A hat-trick for the Nova Castrian.
In the world of rugby league, there are few more popular players than Mark Hughes. The former Curry Junior put together an impressive career with the Newcastle Knights over 9 seasons, playing 161 first-grade games, which included 2 premiership victories. He was also the starting fullback for New South Wales in all 3 games of the 2001 Origin series. In 2013, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, and along with his own battle, Mark has looked to help others through his foundation and events such as this weekend's Beanie for Brain Cancer round. Tonight, Mark Hughes joins me one-on-one. Mark, thank you very much for joining us. I know how busy this week is, so we really appreciate your time. Most importantly, how's the health?
Health's great, Sterlo. Feeling really good. I get scans every 4 months. Things can change very quickly. Brain cancer's one hell of a disease, and you know, it's something that you never really get on top of. So you try and live your life, you know, for now, and every 4 months we get the scans. Okay, all right. Well, you made a statement recently that people used to come up and talk to you about rugby league. Now they talk about brain cancer. I'm going to start by going back to the footy, just quickly. 1997. How surreal was it to win a premiership title your first year in the top grade? At 18, I was playing local grade rugby league for the Curry Bulldogs. Couldn't make the Knights juniors. Would have loved to have, but just didn't look like getting a start. And got amongst the local league there, did well. Got a trial for the Knights 21s in '96. Snuck into that team. And basically at the end of that season wasn't sure what I was going to do. I then got a reserve grade trial in '97 and played some good footy there. A few injuries. And before I knew it, I'm at the back end of the year in first grade, playing for the Knights, surrounded by all these blokes I'd grown up following. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm out there. I'm out in the field in the grand final. It was just amazing. I'm playing against Innes, the centre. And, you know, we talk about life's not fair sometimes, Sterlo, and I remember reading in the lead up that he was on 400,000. My contract was 5,000. And some people were saying I was still overpaid. So that's how I started, and it all went from there. How wild did the celebrations get in Newcastle after that? It was amazing. You know, it was red and blue everywhere. I remember the bus pulling at the Workers' Club and just people everywhere. You know, it was just madness at the time. It was just unbelievable, and we had a lot of fun characters in our team, and we certainly made sure we enjoyed it. Now, I heard that you all showed great stamina and staying power, but Paul Harragon exceeded everybody. Is it true that you carried him home to a standing ovation? Look, there's a few stories going around, and the great Chief did put in a huge effort, and he showed a lot of guts and courage on the field, but one great trait he showed was that he had gout in his feet and he still partied with no shoes on. And that to me is toughness, not what you do on the field. That sums it up, doesn't it? Only Chief would do that. And we got to a bar early one morning, and Chief was perched on a seat right in front of the men's toilet, and we're at a 24-hour karaoke venue. And he's had a bit of a nap on the seat, and it was causing a bit of a people couldn't get to the toilet, and I thought it was time, so I got under there and I've got him over my arm, and we must have looked like the Winfield Cup, I reckon. And I was about 80 kilo and he was 120, and we're wobbling. But as I grab him, everyone, and there was all sorts of people in that venue, stood as one. As one. And clapping the big fellow, and we're wobbling our way out, and then we get to the pavement, and I haven't told him this, so don't tell him. But we fell, and I used him as a cushion. And thankfully, he hit the ground, and I was just resting on top of him. And packed him into a cab. And, but it was just great times, wonderful times. 20 years ago, you know, life goes pretty quick.
2001 was a big year for you as well. Played Origin mid-year. Did that come out of the blue? Excuse the pun.
Yeah, Sterlo, it was, you know, things were going good with the Knights, and I was having a really good season. And I recall after a game, Joey said to me, right on, mate, I'm telling you, I think you're a massive chance for Origin. And Joey had a bit of a track record of bending the truth. So I thought, OK, might be good mail, but not sure on that. And yeah, one afternoon I got the call. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were at local league watching footy, enjoying a few drinks. And before I knew it, I was on my way to Sydney. And all of a sudden I'm in this State of Origin environment. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, probably a couple of injuries went my way and that, and took the luck. And before I knew it, I'm in camp with all these amazing players. First day of camp, we did the skirmish as a team bonding. We had the masks on and we're out in the bush and we're shooting each other and running around. You didn't know who was who. I remember I got someone and lined them up from about here and put a few into them and into the groin region and took off. And I went back into the up to the back bit at the end, and here's Wayne Pearce, the coach, icing his groin, saying some buggers hit me, and I went pale white and just kept that to myself. So, you know, it was there was a lot of good fun. You know, it was good fun.
Well, that wasn't a great time for Wayne Pearce because he lost the series as well. Unfortunately, went down 2-1, but a big finish to the year for you, where you knocked over the favourites, Parramatta, in the 2001 Grand Final. What are your memories of that one?
I just remember the lead up to the game, the amount of enjoyment and fun that we were having. We had a lot of big characters in our team, a lot of experience. Ben Kennedy was firing, and of course Joey, and you know, blokes like Matt Parsons and you know, Tamanatau, Matt Gidley, Danny Buderus. So looking back, Steve Simpson, so many great players, and we just enjoyed the week. We went to the breakfast. We felt that the Para boys were a little frozen and not enjoying it. We were basically having food fights in our corner and having fun, and they seemed a little bit stiff. And we just had a feel and a vibe that we were on track here. And Parramatta had a wonderful season, as you would recall, and they were a great team. But thankfully, we got out there and you know, blew them away in the first half. So wonderful memories at the Olympic Stadium, huge crowd. A full competition. It was just really awesome. Yeah.
24-0 at half-time. That was big first half from you.
It was great.
Had some injuries after that. You had a season in France with Le Catalan as your last year. And then you went into business, and you've had a commercial cleaning business for quite a while now. In 2013, you experienced some disturbing symptoms. What were they?
Yeah, Sterlo, I just was at home and a couple of days of serious headaches. And we got worried, so we decided to go to the doctors. One late afternoon, he rushed me in for a scan, and basically from there, my world sort of got turned right upside down.
What did they find?
Well, the scan showed a irregularity in my brain, and they were just a little unsure exactly what it was. Early signs, they just weren't sure if it might have even been a stroke. I've had some kind of stroke. So I had to wait about 3 or 4 weeks, re-scanned, and then it was confirmed it was a tumour, and then I was rushed straight for surgery at John Hunter Hospital, and certainly, life changed from there.
Radiation and chemo follows that, and part of that was coming down to the Central Coast on a daily basis, and a lot of people offered support and would drive you down. What were the conversations like?
It was awesome. I had the boys all driving me down, a lot of family, a lot of friends, and a lot of ex-teammates, and it was awesome to, just to get one-on-one and chat with them. And I used to go. It was 33 sessions of radiation, so that was 33 lunches I shouted at the twin servos. So it was starting to become a bit costly. The other funny thing about it was often I would let the boys would drive my car, and a few months later, I got a letter in the mail from the RTA that I lose a point, you were speeding, and a fine from that trip. Yep. And that was, I think, what do I do? Do I cop the rap? And
be careful here.
Well, I've never told anyone who that was, and I don't think Adam Muir would appreciate me telling them, so I won't.
Keep it to ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. But just wonderful support way back then. You know, I'd go down, get my radiation, and it was great catching up with everyone.
It's probably not fair to pick somebody up because you have had such support. Chris and Danny Buderus have been tremendous.
Yeah.
Paul Harragon. I'm walking past the television, I see I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here, and I'm thinking, what the Chief doing? And then I found out the story behind it.
Yeah.
Paul Harragon seems to have been somebody who's really come to the fore for you.
He's been a great friend and leader for me for 20 years, and yeah, he has come to the forefront and has been amazing. Started in the jungle, and the way he represented the foundation was just unbelievable. You know, it was to have him in that jungle and people coming up to me saying how wonderful he's doing and what a wonderful person he is. Well, we all know the wonderful person he is, and you know, I'd be sitting at home, laying on the lounge, Ugg boots on, I'd have my cup of tea, my Tim Tam, I'd be sitting back and he'd be like drinking a rat milkshake, saying I'm doing this for Mark Hughes Foundation, and I felt guilty of it. I did keep dunking and I did keep drinking, you know, but he did awesome. Yeah, he's now an ambassador and is a huge part of the foundation.
And he's going to be involved again at the end of this year. There's an Everest Trek, which is part of the online auction.
Yeah.
It was Kokoda last year, 20 people went across, and you were one of those 20.
Yeah.
How emotional was that?
Still, that was amazing. Billy Peden came up with the idea with Chief, and we put together 20 amazing people, and we went to Kokoda. We rode our bikes as well. A lot of people do Kokoda, but we also did about 130-kilometre bike ride to go with it, and it was just an inspiring place to be. What our soldiers went through it was horrific, you know. And we had our beautiful boots on and our sticks, and we were cruising through with our water and you know, we had all the stuff for us. They didn't have all that, and what they did that's heroic and unbelievable.
It's been described as a living and breathing track. Did you get a sense of that?
Yeah. And you learn patience, you know. You start walking at 6 a.m. and it's just step after step, and that's the same as life. If you just take one step at a time and keep moving forward, things are going well, and you learn a lot of stuff on the track, you know. And
so what does this round 11 being dedicated to Beanie for brain cancer, what does that mean?
It means the world. Matt and Ann Callanan have put their hand up and say they want to help. You know, they're going through hard times with brain cancer, but they've stuck their hand up, and the rugby league community have come to the forefront, and the support is just amazing from the commentators to the players to both the networks, all amazing support, and it's overwhelming.
Tell me about Jonathan Thurston.
Well, I think I was on this show a couple of years ago, Sterlo, and I think JT was watching and decided from there he wanted to get our beanies and wear it for us. And it started from there, and he's been just amazing. And like my kids, we went to the game at Newcastle for the Australia game last year, and after the game he got us into the sheds, and he gave the kids his headgear, and then he gave me the jersey off his back and said, use it for the charity, you know, which is amazing. But then he took it back off me and said, I'm going to wash it for you. So he took it home, all the way home, washed it, signed it and sent it. And things like that is just amazing, Stella. And as we know, there's so many great people in rugby league, and we hear lots of things, you know, in our sport, but we know there's so many wonderful, wonderful ambassadors and people that consistently do great things.
I know it's a really broad question, but if you can confine it down to how has this changed your life?
Well, I don't think too far ahead. I just, I don't try and think too far ahead. I try and live for the now and just appreciate everything I've got now. You often are guilty of sweating the little things in life, little things that annoy you and things that get on top of you. Well, I try, but I'm still human. They still get on top of me at times, but I'm trying not to get those little things. Let's sweat those little things, because there's so many bigger things out there and so many people going through so many bad things. And, there's always people worse off than you. You just got to look in the paper and watch the news. There always is. But I'm just grateful that I'm still here. I'm making a difference. I've got a great, wonderful family. And, I'm going to do something pretty special. And Chief said to me from the start, you're up for something special here. And that's their words that ring in my ears.
What resonated with me after the diagnosis and coming out and talking about it was you said, get the good china out.
Yeah.
Don't sit there. Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah, that sums it up. Just get it out of the cupboard and live for now. Don't keep things away. And now may be the best part of your life. Don't keep thinking things are going to be better in the future, because maybe it's now. And be grateful for now.
So from all you've said then, it sounds like you haven't had time to say, why me?
Yeah, that's right. Look, I naturally I did at the start, but I quickly realised that's not helping anyone to think of that. And I've just had to move forward and I've had to be strong. It probably would have been easier to sit on the lounge and hope someone else was going to get out there and do something. I had to do it in my position. I had to get off the lounge. I had to put myself out there. I face brain cancer. I face cancer all the time now. But it's worth it because we're out to make a difference. And there's been examples, even in the rugby league community of late, they're the reasons why we're out there doing it. And I'm doing it for me. I need help. And there's so many other people that need help.
All right, you're making a difference. You're an inspiration.
Yeah.
You're great company, always have been. 40 years old now, got a beautiful family, and you're going to be around for a long, long time to make sure that you see them all grow up. So thanks for coming in tonight. And Round 11's a big weekend for us all. Enjoy.
Yeah, thanks, Delo. Thanks for all the support throughout the rugby league community. Please go to the Mark Hughes Foundation website if you'd like to buy a beanie and support the foundation. And yeah, any support is so important to us.
All right, you take care. Mark Hughes here. Now, last year, a good friend of both Fox Sports and Channel 9 and my former boss, Matt Callender, was diagnosed with brain cancer. His mates at Channel 9 have been together to kickstart Beanie for Brain Cancer this weekend, round 11 of the NRL, and we're proud to partner with them and the Mark Hughes Foundation to support this cause. You can buy a beanie for brain cancer and make a difference. Go to markhughesfoundation.com.au. All proceeds go directly to brain cancer research. Beanies will be also available at most grounds this weekend. This is something we all need to support. Brain cancer.
Brain cancer.
Brain cancer. Brain cancer.
Let's talk about it.
Did you know 1,200 people die from brain cancer each year?
That's one person every 7 hours.
In fact, every 5 hours, someone is diagnosed with this terrible disease.
Enough is enough.
Brain cancer kills more kids in Australia than any other disease.
It kills more people under 40 than any other cancer.
Only 2 in every 10 people diagnosed make it past 5 years.
Survival rates are low and have barely changed in 30 years.
Yet despite this, brain cancer research continues to be underfunded.
It receives less than 5% of federal government cancer research funding.
We all know nothing brings rugby league together like the greatest of challenges.
Whether you're brothers
or rivals,
it's time to come together.
Let's join forces to beat brain cancer.
Please get behind the NRL's Beanie for Brain Cancer round and support the Mark Hughes Foundation.
Simply go to markhughesfoundation.com.au and buy a beanie.
Thanks, Heidi. Looking good, bro. Now, all the money raised goes directly to brain cancer research.
Together, we can make a difference.
Because the cure is out there.
We want you to buy a beanie for brain cancer.
Help us to make a difference. It's a no-brainer.
And Newcastle Cold hero Nathan Ross has been forced to train with reserve grade after publicly calling on the club to give him a pay rise.
There certainly is ways you handle it, and I would suggest Rossi didn't handle it in the correct manner, but we'll move forward and we'll get over it.
Jake Duke, 9 News.
Now, as mentioned, Nathan Ross makes his return to the side tonight after being axed for disciplinary reasons a fortnight ago. During the week, the eccentric winger sat down with Fox League, opening up about his life on and off the field.
When I was a little kid, we had these like building blocks, and there was another child in the class who built like a nice block, and I was sitting at the front of my own desk. I had a texter in my hand, and I was flicking in my hand. I was lined up this kid's blocks that he had built, and the teacher, Miss Newhouse, looked over to me and she's like, "Nathan, don't you flick that texter at those building blocks." And yeah, I flicked it at it, so I'm sorry for that. I broke it. I was a really energetic kid. I've got ADHD, so there was a bit of a stigma around about it when I was a young fella. So I had a lot of teachers and whatnot, almost cast you aside, put you in the naughty corner or whatnot. And I was always trying to do the right thing, but found myself in difficult situations. Academically, I always did quite well, but I wouldn't say I was the easiest of students to look after. My mum's a very strong woman. She worked her butt off. She was up at the school a fair bit trying to explain my behaviour, and she always had my back. I dad played 15 years in the NRL and was quite a good player. He played 150 plus games.
Keeping it going nicely, round the corner. This is Ross with it now. What's he going to do? He stopped away from the fullback. He's going to score in the corner. Coming in very smartly near the Embers Walford, but couldn't cut him off and in for the try.
So I used to play rugby league to try and make him proud. I didn't actually enjoy it at first because it wasn't until later on in life that I found a real love for football, but I used to love doing nippers and surfing. I was sent to boarding school at St Joseph's College, which is a rugby union school. I used to have to sneak out on weekends to go and play rugby league without the school knowing, because you weren't allowed to do it at that point in time. I'd have to wake up on a Sunday morning and sign myself out for the day, get a bus from Hunters Hill to Town Hall, then a train from Town Hall to Central, and either a bus to where we're playing or one of my coaches would pick me up. So it was pretty hard because I didn't get to do training with the team, but I just loved rugby league as a sport, and it was the perfect outlet for me. In the pre-season, I was working in the mines, working Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. So I'd start at 6:30 p.m. and finish at 7:30 in the morning. So I was quite fatigued most of the days. I was getting up to Saturday and Monday sessions with no sleep because I'd worked all night, and I'd drive from Broke back to wherever we were training just in order to play for that opportunity. Wayne Bennett was a coach at the time, and it was just before Christmas, and he just let me know that he didn't quite think that I was up to playing NRL, and it was good. He was honest with me, but I guess it encouraged me and fueled a fire in me for a little bit. I went back and played for Kurri Bulldogs in the local league comp, and throughout that year I continued to learn about professionalism and resilience. Rick Stone rang me. He's like, "Rossi, we want to offer you a $25,000 contract to come and train full time." I was driving home from work one day. I was in the mines and I was on 100 plus K, 120 grand. And I was sitting in the car and I was thinking about Zaya and what type of parent I wanted to be. How I'm going to be able to look him in the eyes when he gets to an age where he's got a decision in life of whether to chase his dream or to give up. And I was, in order to, I guess, be a man and say, mate, like, if you want something in life, you've got to go for it. I've got to walk the walk as well. So I quit my job and took up the $25,000 contract, and it's all paid dividends. My main motivator for playing football is my son and my family. So when I score a try, I throw up a Z. And the reason I do that is so that one day when my son's older, if he's watching Fox Sports or might be on YouTube or something like that, or even if I'm like, oh, have a look at your dad's old highlight reel, I can show him that even in the most highest point of an individual thing for myself, that I was thinking about him and how much he motivates me to keep growing as a person, and yeah, so it's for him. I was a rat bag as a kid through my teens and I guess early 20s. There's a lot of times where I didn't make the right decisions in life. And it wasn't until I became a father that I realised that I have the power to be a positive role model in someone else's life. To do that, I'm lucky that football's been a vehicle to get me to a destination where I'm going to be able to hopefully set my family up and give my children and my partner the best things in life. And it helps that I love it too.